Welcome to another episode of the Online Prosperity Experience podcast. You're about to hear your host, Prosper Taravinga's powerful digital marketing strategies and actionable tactics that you can use right now. Prosper has helped more than 50,000 people from over 10 countries to create meaningful businesses that are profitable and enjoyable. Listen to this podcast so that you too can build your own business with less stress and overwhelm. Let's get started.
How to distinguish between marketing and selling. Now, you see, the reason why I'm actually coming to you on this podcast talking about this difference is because I actually got off a call and I had a client who literally was blaming me for the lack of sales within their business, even though all the marketing is being done and, everything is up to date. So I just thought to myself, wait a minute, it's not their fault. It does really, it is a big problem for people to actually distinguish where marketing stops and where sales have to actually come into play. Okay, so I just thought, you know what? Instead of getting angry, I should actually just come and vent my spleen, so to speak, with my Internet Explorers here, and then actually try and see if I have a clue of what the actual difference between sales and marketing is and how you can actually distinguish it. That way, I'll be able to then educate my clients when they start thinking I literally have to be doing the actual conversion process, even though we've got a conversion strategy for them, but I'm not the person who has to then pick up the phone and actually get the customer to buy. Okay, so in all respect of your time and everything else that comes to play, I'm just going to be talking about the difference between sales and marketing in this podcast, and obviously why it's very important for people to know the distinction so that they know how to actually act, so that they know what questions to ask and how to actually get results, which depends, depending on what it is that they're paying for. So, what is the actual difference between sales and marketing? So my understanding is marketing actually informs and attracts leads and prospects to your company and whatever services that you're providing. So you inform your customers about your consulting, your training, your information, your expertise, and the paid speaking that you might be doing. And this is all the things that you're doing in terms of your blogging, having a website presence, your distribution of how you actually reach the actual customer. Now, sales, on the other hand, works directly with the prospects to actually reinforce that value that you're bringing with marketing so that people can then convert those prospects into customers. Now, you see the difference there. Sales and marketing are two different business functions within an organization, and they both impact, first of all, the lead generation and the revenue of the business. And I think that's the reason why people confuse the two. And the term sales actually refers to all the activities that then lead to the selling of goods and services. And marketing is the process of getting people interested in those goods and services that are being sold. So a lot of people get it wrong. The activities of selling are totally different to the activities of marketing, okay? But people interuse those two together. So in this podcast, we're going to try and look at that difference between sales and marketing. And maybe that's the reason why right now you're probably cold calling your potential clients and having them hang up in your face because you are selling to them before you have marketed to them, okay? Or maybe you're sending out hundreds of emails without getting as much as, hey, thanks for reaching out, because marketing is a process, okay? Marketing is not a sprint, it's a marathon. People need to know you, like you, and trust you before they actually convert into customers that pay, stay, and refer, which is what sales is all about. So in all essence, people like buying stuff, but they don't like being sold to. So let's look predominantly at that buying process, okay, where you are, enabling people to make that purchasing decision on their own accord up until you actually convert them into customers. So this is yet another podcast, for your digital marketing journey. And in this, season alone, we're just going to be talking about this common mistake that a lot of entrepreneurs make for confusing, the difference between marketing and sales. And all of these mistakes have actually come about not only because I'm dealing with customers through and through, but in my own experience as well, running a digital marketing agency. And now I work as a marketing consultant, and when people call me yelling at me for not making any sales within their business, I just look back at the analytics. I look back at their website, and I'm like, wait a minute, we're doing all that we're doing. So maybe you need to, set your expectations as to what the actual sales are, and what the actual process is, and how you actually convert people into paying customers, because we are bringing the traffic to your site. We are doing everything that needs to be done. We're creating the content, and people are subscribing to the email marketing, and they're reading your blog, and they're listening to your podcast. But maybe when they then come to the phone call with you, you're not actually convincing them. And that's the sales aspect of this whole deal that we're putting out there. So, and now that I'm working as a marketing consultant, it's imperative that I teach my clients what to expect off of digital marketing, and what to expect off of themselves to actually convert those people into paying customer. Or if they're not doing it themselves, their sales team or whatever sales mechanisms that they have within the business. All right. So I've seen other entrepreneurs make the same mistake. So I wanted to just dedicate actually an entire 3 or 4 episodes discussing these mistakes and why they're important and how you can avoid them. As you can see, most of these are actually affecting how businesses are showing up every single day right there. So the first one that I'm going to discuss is a fairly typical one, okay? Like, I've been trying to explain the difference between sales and marketing, and especially for those that are selling either a service, coaches, consultants. This is a really big one, because we're doing all the work marketing our business, but then when it comes to sales, we're probably missing the whole game all in all. And a lot of people make the mistake of just focusing on their sales rather than actually doing the marketing that's needed. And that's the reason why when they cold call these potential clients, they have people hanging up in the face, because they don't, the people they're calling, they don't actually know who they are, and they don't have time to be listening to their phone call. So before we go into why this mistake is so crucial and how you can get to fix it, let's maybe look at why it has happened in the first place. And I believe it's important for us to actually grasp that difference between sales and marketing, since they can be confusing at times. And a lot of people right now, you might think, yeah, I might know the difference, but let's just look at a few scenarios so that you can actually see that there's a stark difference, and that people often assume that they're the same when they're actually not. So how do you actually distinguish between marketing and selling? So to put it real simply, like I've been trying to explain, marketing is just the act of informing others about something. All right, your SEO, that's simply educating others. You're simply informing people, educating them, and trying to engage them so that they get to know about the services that you're providing. And you can accomplish this in a variety of ways, but marketing is essentially just letting people know who you are, what you sell, and how you can help them solve their problems. Whereas sales is actually urging people to actually buy. That's where the credit card, comes into play. That's where money exchanges hands. Okay, that's where the value is now reciprocated with some form of a payment. Okay, so let me use maybe a concrete example to actually demonstrate the difference between marketing and sales. last week I was at the shopping mall, so you would understand this scenario. If you're in Australia or Melbourne, you would maybe picture right now Westfield shopping malls, all right? So let's assume you're at a shopping mall and a salesperson approaches you and they begin selling you their product, or they start trying to asking you to donate to some charity that they're selling you, and then they explain how fantastic the product is and how you can use it, or what sort of benefit you can derive from it, and what kind of discount they can actually give you if you buy immediately. All right, so this is a sales focused approach by the company. But since you haven't approached you haven't approached that prospect, you haven't spoken to them, they don't know who you are, you're going to try and cram everything into that 10-minute spiel. That is sales. That's what a lot of people do without having done the legwork to actually get the customer to know, like, and trust who they are, okay? But since you've been approached by this unknown salesperson at the mall, let's bring it back to the mall again, and you may not have, you might not be familiar with the charity, you might not be familiar with the business, and you might not even be sure if you need what they're trying to sell you, all right? And these people just keep pushing their products, and that's why they get rejected a lot, because they're just trying to sell. They're trying to, take a customer straight to bed when they just said hi. Okay, and I want you to just then maybe imagine, maybe you're in a store and you've been there quite a lot, and then you know what they sell. Especially I go to a men's shop and then I try on the shirts and find out what's in season and what they have new, etc. And I already know, how good their quality is because they've marketed to me before. And I know what their refund policy is. I know, I've been on their social media, I've participated in competitions, all that stuff. See, when I'm in that store like that, you don't mind picking up something you might want or not even need. You see, the difference between a salesperson and somebody who you're familiar with is the know, like, and trust factor. Okay, I already trust their whole process. I don't even need to question anything. Or even if I pick up a shirt and don't even try it, I know what their return policy is. I can always return it if it doesn't fit. All right, because they've already advertised to me, they've already marketed to me, and I actually agree with what they've said. I actually bought into their story. I actually know their ethos, all of that stuff. So, like I've said, people buy from those that they know and who they're familiar with. So at the end of the day, if you are not reaching out to your audience, if you're not maybe doing a podcast like this, writing to them, if you're not clarifying your message in different forms, because people need to maybe hear you, people need to see you, people need to read you, people need to experience your work and your message before they actually start paying attention. So you might be asking me now, why do you need marketing strategies to actually increase sales? Because without marketing, you can hardly sell a lot of high ticket products. Yes, you can sell sweets without me even knowing what the brand is, because that's a minimum risk on the part of the buyer. All right, but if there is a risk to be involved, if there is something that I have to actually consider and something that has to show up on my credit card, then obviously I need to have an in-depth understanding and trust that whatever I'm paying, I'm not making a mistake. So from the perspective of maybe you as an entrepreneur or as a coach or a consultant, if you take the time to actually market your business to a potential customer, they're more likely to convert and purchase from you. Right now, you're listening to this podcast, right? I'm taking the time to explain to you concepts that might be confusing for you, and I'm willing to put my reputation on the line just so I can give you value, hoping that you reciprocate that value a little bit later on, either by sharing this podcast, subscribing, or actually purchasing some of our services. All right? So when it comes to marketing, don't be too caught up with maybe the number of sales that you're making, because marketing is an investment, right? I'm doing this podcast for 30 minutes. I'm investing this time because then we can repurpose this piece of content a little bit later on, either into a blog. We can repurpose this content piece, onto so many other channels. It can be a social media post. That is investment, so that I can disseminate my message to the people that I'm hoping will be my customers later. All right. So there's no selling involved. Marketing is all about you just showing up, telling people you can help them by actually helping them without asking for anything in return. That is marketing. Okay, so before you start asking people to buy from you, spend some time marketing your business, spend some time marketing your consulting, spend some time marketing your training. Because if you look at all the people that you already follow, all right, like this episode in and of itself is probably episode number 160. All 30-minute episodes of me giving value upfront before I've even asked for the sale. If you look at some of the people that you follow, maybe Gary Vee, he did 1,000 episodes of the wine library before anybody picked him up and actually started doing anything with him. So you have to actually let people know who you are, get them to trust you, and actually start, giving value before you are needed, so that when the time comes, people will then, remember you and definitely want to buy whatever it is that you're selling. So if you're right now wasting thousands of dollars on ad spend without generating any qualified leads, it's because you haven't done the legwork. You're just hoping that the person who's coming from Google has so much of a bleeding neck that they desperately need what you're selling. But half of the time, those people might not stay long enough after they've noticed that there's not that much value that is being offered by that business. But look at how I've been building my business organically. Since day one, I've got people that have been following me. Some have become lifelong customers. You know why? Because now they don't doubt that every single day I'll show up, either in video, on email, or whichever way. And that's how marketing is done. Right? So before you go in and ask, people to buy from you, spend some time doing a bit of marketing. Okay, now I'm hoping you understand the distinction between marketing and sales. How then can you advertise to your ideal customer in order to influence your sales? Take your customers on a journey, all right? When your customer gets to know you the first time, it's awareness. And then from there, they're going to start making decisions. Up until they convert, it doesn't happen overnight. All right, let's still use the same scenario like I mentioned earlier on, of being in the shopping mall and a salesperson just rocks up. I call it human spam or human pop-ups. They just show up in front of you and you're like, whoa, okay. And by the time I'm trying to catch my breath, he's already said who his name is, his company, and I don't even know what he's selling, and I just can't wait to get rid of him. So when you bump into a salesman at a mall, what exactly were you doing there? Were you there to buy bread, or were you there to be sold to? You're probably going about your day, or maybe you want to find a specific store, or you are preparing for your kid's birthday and you want to quickly rush, or maybe you left your washing machine in a cycle and you want to catch it before it finishes. I don't know, but these people have no understanding of where you've been, where you're going, and what problem you seek to solve, and they just show up in your face like that, like a ghost. All right. You probably show up at the mall there, you're looking around for a moment, and you're not looking to buy anything. So when a salesperson approaches you in the middle of the mall, you don't pay attention to what they're saying, since you're not interested in buying anything that they're trying to peddle to you. But when you enter a store, because you already are familiar with the clothing that they sell in there or whatever it is that they're selling, you've gone there with one aim of actually making a purchase. And you already have that in your frame of mind. You've got the specific item that you want to buy. So you actually arrive to the checkout counter, and maybe the guy or the girl behind says, "Hey, can I help you with this?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, what sizes do you have in this?" And then the transaction starts, because you already are familiar with the brand. You already know what it is that you're buying, and you already understand that maybe they have a sale going on because they've already advertised to you. You've seen prior work, and you have, proof that you're not making a mistake. Because the one thing that we should understand as coaches, consultants, and small to medium businesses is people are always afraid to make a mistake, all right? So you want to make sure that you have built that trust prior. with them that they already know whatever purchase they're going to make from you is not going to be a mistake, or they're not going to have to do it over again. All right. So similarly, you actually have to understand where your customers go to get the information and where they go to actually make the decisions. When it comes to buying, even if it's an online space, people come to the internet to buy stuff, to learn, or to actually connect with other people. Are you part of those conversations? Are you part of those communities? Are you creating the content that these people are consuming? Because the majority of individuals that use maybe Google to look up information and products for new businesses, these people are not just checking one thing, they're checking a few other things. Are you part of that eyeball test before they actually pick up the phone and make an inquiry? Because people might notice an advertisement on Facebook and maybe remember it otherwise, but you gotta have maybe seen them before. All right. And that's where the organic concepts of marketing, because marketing is not a sprint. It is an actual, marathon where you have to do every single step up until you make somebody make a purchase from you. Okay, so whichever way you're doing it, either through your podcast, whatever media you're using, YouTube or whatnot, you will notice that the people that you actually follow, they have been at it for a while. They're not just a one-click wonder. People have been marketing their businesses for a while. Even if they're on different platforms, it's called omni-channel marketing, where you are seen in so many different places. Not only does that increase the credibility, but it actually just increases the opportunities that you get found when people are, searching for your product. So once you start marketing, take the time to figure out where your customers are hanging out, and where you can market to them, eventually where you can take them so that you can actually make the sale. All right, you need to own platforms that you direct traffic from, maybe Facebook or whatever traffic channels, to your website where you tell your story. And once people have bought into your story, they will buy from you. And that, my friend, is marketing. You just showing up in an ad, you just showing up in somebody's DM, that is selling. And selling these days, like I said, people like buying stuff, but they don't like being sold to. So you want to create that relationship with them. And marketing is all about the relationship, because you're taking customers on a journey. Okay? You're taking them on a journey from when they're discovering who you are, when they're getting to know, whether the problem they have has a solution. And if you constantly are there, showing up and being there by actually helping them, you, my friend, will have a business that's profitable and enjoyable. All right, so show up where your customers are hanging. You need to identify that market so that you can be there every step of the way for them. I really hope that this tip helps you plan out what you're going to be doing, first of all, in your marketing, and where you're going to invest your time and money in order for you to grow your business. I'm not saying that you shouldn't sell, but I'm saying spend much of your efforts in actually trying to tell your story, and also get the customer to understand that story in relation to how it solves their problems. All right? And at the end of the day, obviously in tomorrow's episode, please make sure you subscribe to this podcast, because tomorrow I'm going to be talking about not having a budget, because it takes money for you to actually market your business. Because that's another common mistake that entrepreneurs make. They just go at it without a budget, or they just have one last bit of money in their account and they are hoping they get a return, especially from that. For most activities in marketing, it actually takes between 3 to 6 months for it to actually stick. All right? Because you with marketing, you're doing all those activities that actually spark interest in your business. It takes about 13 times for somebody to actually get interested in what you're selling. So that costs money. If you don't have money, you better have the time to be consistently doing all that stuff by yourself up until you've gotten the money to actually, leverage, so you can actually be consistently there, where your customers are searching. And the fact that we now live in a 24/7 global village, you constantly have to be in front of the audience that you want, people who you want to be your customers. So you gotta, when you're starting this whole process, you use market research to actually find who your target audience is. And then you need to analyze what's working and what's not working, so you understand the interests of these potential customers, and then clarify your message to make sure that they understand, yes, you're speaking about them and you are the person that can solve their problems. Then you start running campaigns to attract these people to your business, to your products, and to your brand. All of this takes money. We'll be talking about that in the next episode, where we're talking about the budget. So there are a few general differences between marketing and sales, and the examples that I've given you, of the shopping mall and stuff. But marketing focuses its efforts on the general public or larger groups of people, while sales targets maybe smaller groups of people or subsets of that general target. Okay? Because all of these things are a process. And marketing needs a plan. You got to be following some sort of a plan. You need to identify your target market, clarify your message, determine what media you're going to be consistent in. And once you've done that, no longer should you be cold calling any potential clients who don't know who you are, because you already have them showing up on your website and you already know who they are. All you're doing is now directing, your marketing spend and effort towards them so that you can convert them into customers that pay, stay, and refer. People don't listen to marketing that's not directed at them. And now, if you feel like no one wants to buy what it is that you're selling, is because you haven't marketed to them. They don't know who you are. You need to spend the time to teach them, educate them, and engage them, letting them know how it is that you actually solve the problems that you claim that you solve. And if you're actually relying on your business to pay rent and put food on the table, man, it might put an enormous strain on your emotions if you can't generate leads. And it's simply because you haven't marketed enough. And I can understand, as an entrepreneur, marketing is just one aspect of running a successful business. You go from hiring and managing new staff, balancing books. I actually just did my tax. Obviously, my accountant did. But you know what I mean? I had to sign all the paperwork and, just have a stark reality of what's actually happening. Are we actually, getting a return on our marketing spend? All of that stuff, trying to drive growth in the business and a whole lot more. And it all feels like a constant balancing act when you're pulled in multiple different directions all at once. At the end of the day, your real goal is just to help your clients. But how do you then, arrive at having those clients if you haven't marketed to them and if you haven't actually sold to them? Yeah? So at the end of the day, we're all here to learn. There is alignment. It's not like they're totally different, pieces of the whole, game. I mean, there's people that are in marketing would not survive if they didn't have a sales department, and people that are in sales need people in marketing in order for them to generate those leads for them that they are going to be able to sell to. All right. So these mistakes are what a lot of people are doing. And at the end of the day, I really want you to start creating for and relating to the audience that you're going to be demanding money off of. And how do you do that? You market to them. And once you've done that, you'll be able to sustainably scale your business from 6 figures to 7 figures and beyond. So you can establish yourself as a trusted leader within your industry. And with that being said, you'll be able to generate hundreds of qualified high-ticket leads like clockwork. And I can bet you, if you're marketing your business well, you never have to rely on cold calling or emailing just to beg clients to hire you. You know what I mean? And once you now have all these clients in your back pocket, you can now start creating products for them, and these now become recurring revenue streams that skyrocket your profitability and ensure that your business remains 100% bulletproof. Even during market downturns, global pandemics, or any lockdowns that might come, your way. Yeah? So do yourself a favor. First of all, have an understanding of what marketing is and have an understanding of where sales starts in the marketing process. And when your sales and marketing are aligned, the business is now poised to attract and qualify more leads and generate more revenue. I really want you to win. And I really want you to create a business that's, sustainable. So you can actually deliver that outstanding results for your clients and you can win their loyalty for life. If you market to them well, guess what? They get to know you, like you, and trust you. And customers who have come through a marketing channel will definitely sing your praises to their family, to their friends, colleagues at barbecues, and even strangers on a bus. You've got all, the resources that you need in order for you to market your business. Just commit. And once you commit to a marketing, it takes a bit of time, but the sales will take care of themselves. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, let's continue the conversation in the Live Long Digital community. Become a Live Long Digital community member today. This community is for ambitious entrepreneurs and small business owners with the drive to take control of the future of their businesses and achieve huge success without stress and overwhelm. As you heard, Prosper can help you by teaching you marketing strategies that work. So look no further than the Live Long Digital community of entrepreneurs and highly successful business owners. Join our community today. Find us on www.community.livelongdigital.com.au. Network with other driven entrepreneurs and find the expert guidance you need to take your business to the next level. www.community.livelongdigital.com.au